Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to the hearings for Spokane Plan Commission on Wednesday, September 25th. Before we begin, I'd like to ask Angie to take roll call, please.
President Francis.
Here.
Vice President Patterson.
Here.
Commissioner Bank.
Here.
Commissioner Nepperud.
Here.
Commissioner Shook.
Here.
Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Commissioner Lenhart.
Here.
Commissioner Yachts.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, and let the record reflect that Community Assembly Liaison Mary Winkus is also present.
Thank you. Before we begin, I will read our hearing procedures. Please silence your cell phones when entering council chambers. No clapping, cheering, or booing. No public outbursts. We will have a time limit on public comment of 5 minutes per individual today. All persons and/or commission members shall wait to be recognized by the president before speaking. Persons testifying are asked to avoid repetition and limit comments to specific project and code compliance. Each speaker shall follow all instructions from the president so that their remarks may be heard, understood, and recorded. All comments to the Plan Commission shall be directed to the secretary to be appropriately entered into the public record. This includes all oral, written, and email comments. No modes of expression not provided by these rules, including but not limited to demonstrations, banners, applause, profanity, vulgar language, or personal insults, will be permitted. In the event such disorders persist, the president may require the removal of the instigators, recess, or adjourn the meeting. With that, we will begin our hearing process. We have 2 items today. Our first one is Senate Bill 5290, Permitting Code Updates, presented by Tim Thompson and Jackie Churchill.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Plan Commission. Along with Jackie Churchill, Assistant Planner, I'm Tim Thompson, Principal Planner. For your consideration today is a code amendment request to update the land use application procedures, which clarify, expedite, and consolidate the land use permitting process in accordance with Senate Bill 5290. Last year in 2023, the Washington State Legislature passed Senate Bill 5290, which updated the Local Project Review Act to improve project review and permitting processes. These updates include clarification on the determination of completeness, permitting deadlines, and mitigation measures which encourage the city to meet specified deadlines. These updates amend various sections of Title 17, which is the Unified Development Code, and then pursuant to SB 5290 and the associated RCWs, the effective date of this particular ordinance would be January 1st of 2025. It's important to point out that these changes do not materially affect how the city processes land use applications. These are really internal, more internal type processes that maybe don't necessarily directly affect the public. These changes are not applicable to building permit applications. I think it's important to point that out. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jackie, and she can go into the specifics of the changes.
All right, thank you, Tim. Hello, everyone. I am just going to run through a summary of the proposed text amendments, and I know that Tim ran through these before, so I'll be as brief as I can. The first section of proposed changes has to do with the time periods for permitting review. And so we made various amendments to 17G 061130. So included in those changes are the new permitting time periods for the different permit types. So that would be permits that do not require public notice, have a time period of 65 days. Permits that do require public notice are 100 days, and permits that require public notice and a public hearing are 170 days. Additionally, we added clarification on reasons that we would pause the time period, restart the time period, or extend the time period. For example, the city can request an additional 30 days if the applicant is non-responsive for 60 days, or if the applicant themselves requests a time extension. And then we also added in a section that just clarifies that the city can Also, adopt alternative time periods for additional permit types that are not currently adopted, just keeping us from being locked into what we currently have. So then the second kind of group of changes has to do with the determination of completeness for the permit. So we made various changes to that, including clarifying that every day of the week is counted in that time period. So business days and the weekends are included. We amended it so that, well, we clarified that after 29 days, permits that have been submitted will be deemed technically complete if the city has not given the applicant written determination stating otherwise. So we clarified that applicants will receive written determination. And then we also clarified the review process by reorganizing some of the sections to show kind of the chronological process more clearly, just with agency review and how that works with deeming an application technically complete. And then finally, we added in that in the vesting process that applications that have been vested can still expire if they reach the expiration deadline and no progress has been made on those permits. And then this next section of proposed amendments has to do with additional measures that the city wants to adopt in order to ensure timeliness in the permitting process. And to give you context, there's a section in Senate Bill 5290 that mandates that cities have to refund 10 to 20% of the permit fee if we cannot adhere to those new time periods, unless the city adopts an additional 3 measures, and these are the measures out of a group of 10 or so that are provided in Senate Bill 52. So after talking with different staff in the DSC, current planning and everybody, these are the 3 that we decided would be the most appropriate. So the first one is just that during the determination of completeness process, city staff can be proactive and reach out to an applicant that has issues. So they can request corrections to an application, and if those are not corrected quickly, they can reach out for a meeting, and they can do this up to 3 times. And then after that 3rd request for corrections, the application needs to be either approved or denied. So just keeping the application from kind of being in limbo forever. The next one is changing the pre-development conference from being required to recommended. And once again, after talking with staff, this was recommended because most applicants will still choose to go to the pre-development conference because they know it's a really good tool that helps them to get all of the requirements for their permits on time. And so they didn't think that it would be detrimental to our overall process to change it to recommended. And then the last one, we actually don't need to adopt any additional amendments because the city is already doing this. And it is just adopting development regulations that make housing types outright permitted in a zone where that housing type is permitted. So just meaning that it's permitted if it's permitted. So those are the 3 additional measures that the city would like to adopt. And then the last section are just clarifications. We wanted to define counter-complete and technically complete because those are not terms that are used in the Senate Bill 5290, but they are used in our process. So technically complete equates to procedurally complete, which is what the Senate bill uses. And it's just to state that the permit is deemed complete. And then counter-complete is what we use to say that they've kind of passed the first step in the determination of completeness, but there are additional steps that will be needed in order to get to technically complete. And then the last one is just added the word minor to differentiate between minor and substantial changes to a permit because, as aforementioned, making substantial changes to a permit is one of the reasons why we would restart those time periods. Okay, so if you have any questions, I would like to, feel free to ask them. And that is it from me. Thank you.
Are there any questions for either Jackie or Tim? Okay, well, thank you very much. And at this point, we will move on to public comment. Do we have anyone signed up, Angie? Okay, is there anyone online that hasn't signed up that would like to speak to this, make public comment regarding this item? Okay, hearing none, I will close public testimony, and we will move on to deliberations. Is there any discussion regarding this item? Oh, actually, would you like to make a motion to put this item on the table?
I move that we recommend the SMC code changes to come into compliance with SB 5290 as presented by staff.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson and Commissioner Bank. All right, now we will have some discussion. Is there anything that anyone would like to say about this before we would go to a vote?
I'd just
Commissioner
like to
Bank.
say I think this process is fantastic and commend the staff for obviously conforming with state statute, but for really working on these things. It's a really excellent benefit for customer service, and just wanted to, on the record, thank the staff for this work, because I think it's very good.
I will concur with that. I think that this is a good decision at the state level, and I'm glad that cities are adopting it. Well, not that they have much choice, but I am glad we are adopting it to streamline the development process a little bit more. So, all right. If there is no further discussion, Angie, can you take a vote, please?
President Francis,
Aye.
Vice President Patterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bank,
Aye.
Commissioner Neprud,
Aye.
Commissioner Shook,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Lenhart,
Aye.
Commissioner Yachts.
Aye.
Motion passes 9-0. 8-0.
You were close. All right.
Unanimously.
Unanimously. Thank you. With that, we will move on to our second hearing item, Centers and Corridors Update Study. Colin Quinhurst.
See, mine doesn't make noise. Dust storm warning.
Yeah, there's a dust storm just in case everybody needs to know.
On the record.
Just in case anyone, out there.
Imagine having a hearing and you have an earthquake during the hearing.
Good afternoon, Plan Commission members. Thanks for having us. Colin Quinhurst here to talk about the Centers and Corridors Update Study. We last talked about this in July, and we're just coming here today for a formal resolution to go to City Council to recognize the recommendations that are coming out of this study. This won't result in any immediate changes to land use policy or development regulations, but it's asking City Council to recognize the recommendations to guide our future growth scenarios that Tyrrell talked about earlier today. So the information from this study will inform those scenarios in the comp plan update. I'll just give a brief presentation, just kind of an overview, a shorter version of what we talked about in July, just as a reminder. I'm moving really slow so that you don't go out into the dust storm. Just biding our time. We did have a consultant team made up of Makers, SCJ Alliance, and Leland Consulting Group. Leland, again, did the economic analysis that informed our original comprehensive plan in 2001, and they did an economic market analysis for this study. And just as a reminder, Centers and Corridors is the guiding principle of our current comprehensive plan. emerged through 5 years of community planning and scenario planning, and this was one of the alternatives known as the focused growth mixed use centers and corridors scenario, and we've been basing our plan off that ever since. And as a reminder, there are 4 types of centers: the neighborhood center, district center, employment center, and corridors. This is a quick review of what each of those are around the city. There's about, let's see here, make sure I get the number right, 23 overall. And neighborhood centers are some of the most identifiable that you'll immediately recognize: Perry, Garland, those types of places. Just a quick summary of outreach. So as we were conducting the study to assess how our centers and corridors strategy is holding up, we did a series of outreach events, online surveys, going to coffee shops, and chatting with people about their thoughts. And we're now here at the September 25th public hearing. So the 11th, we delayed it to the 25th. But as far as what we heard from folks as we went through this process, there are a few standout priorities, and this also came out through the consultant's analysis. And those really are to focus on residential infill, connectivity for all modes, public realm improvements. This is a recurring theme that the city's investment in places like Perry, Garland, North Monroe were critical in just getting the ball rolling for economic redevelopment in those areas. And that was a theme that came out through community comments and also through the market analysis. So that the city does have to come to the table and make some investment in addition to making all the zoning and policy changes. Walking safety and edge permeability, that applies mostly to parking lots. So, as you come to some of these more recently developed centers like Southgate or Indian Trail, that you can actually get to them from the adjacent neighborhoods. So a new apartment complex right next to Target, you shouldn't have to walk 5 blocks around to get to the front door if it's only 200 feet away. And then, of course, transit access, which is becoming more and more important with the City Line and the Division Bus Rapid Transit project. So one major recommendation that came out of this was a new set of mixed-use zones. So this is an update of our CC1, CC2, CC3, CC4, and they would apply more broadly. So you'd be able to use many of these throughout the city, not just in designated centers. So a few of these, like MU3, which is the residential mixed-use zone, which allows more options for maybe some commercial uses in neighborhoods. That would be an option on the table. So if you think of places like those little parcels that are zoned neighborhood retail, that if you look at a map of those, it's just peppered throughout the city. Some of those could be on the table for more mixed-use development. As far as heights go, this aligns with the recent changes done through the South Logan project, bumping those heights up to allow more developments to pencil out. And then another major designation is our current system of pedestrian streets. So as you recall, 29th was recently redesignated as a pedestrian street. Along with that, additional design requirements come with a pedestrian street designation. And this study recommended that we rename those to storefront streets to reduce confusion. Pedestrian streets kind of brings to mind like the 16th Street Transit Mall in Denver, or someplace that's completely closed to cars, which isn't necessarily what we're going for. We're dust storm, I guess. We're going for more like a streetscape improvement where the storefronts are supported. And the idea is to use these consistently throughout centers and corridors. Right now we have, I think, about 13 designated throughout the city. So clearly we have 23 centers and corridors, only 13 pedestrian streets. Not every center has a pedestrian street. And so the idea would be to use these consistently throughout the centers. And then design standards to be consistent with new statewide legislation would be to integrate the center and corridor standards into municipal code. I wonder if that's the wind, integrate facade articulation standards and just coming in line with the statewide code. We did some testing. So we tried applying these to 4 test sites throughout the city, throughout the range of center and corridor types, to see how these new regulations would play out. So these are all theoretical, but the idea is if a developer were to come in and make use of these new standards, what would those development types look like? So you could see, a potential smaller single stairwell mixed-use building at 14th and Grand, for example, could now work. And then all the way up to Southgate in a big parcel scenario would be highly connected, and you wouldn't be facing a sea of parking to get to where you're going, and there could be townhomes mixed in. And so this resolution, as I mentioned, is to recognize these regulatory recommendations for future updates to land use policy and zoning, and does not result in immediate changes to land use policies or development code. And so with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Rake.
Just had a question on the storefront streets. I completely understand and support the logic for going to that designation for its applicability more widely. Is there an anticipated use that corresponds with that? Or I guess maybe said a different way, how are we thinking about the over-retailing, or potential over-retailing of some of these areas?
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, one recommendation is that we don't require retail on the ground floor, but we require dimensions that are suited to retail. So you could have residential on the ground floor, but it should be able to be converted to retail. But along with that, if we allow residential on the ground floor, it be done in such a way where it's actually livable, so you don't have someone's dining room window right next to the sidewalk like we see on Sprague right now. So that's the idea, is we don't require that.
Yeah, and I appreciate it's a sticky wicket trying to sort of, shoot the gap between those two concepts. I just know that classically that sort of reliance on the ground floor retail mixed use has resulted in some municipalities being wildly over-retailed and lots of dark windows, which is sort of the opposite of what that policy is trying to achieve. So just wanted to make sure we were thinking about that. I know this doesn't, lead to any specific impacts, but obviously it will, or the hope is that it will at some point. So I just wanted to make sure that was considered.
Yeah, and we did stakeholder interviews with developers, and that was a consistent theme, is like requiring that retail in like a smaller mixed-use building made them not want to build that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Could you go
Commissioner,
back
sure.
to the slide about the 100-foot building, 100-feet building?
Oh, yeah. There we go. Is this the one?
Let's see.
Yeah, so the idea is that in the most permissive zones, like around, like a good example would be Wellesley and North Division, where we potentially have two high-performance transit lines intersecting. So, transit-rich environment on two major corridors, that would be the most permissive zone with the most height.
Okay, so that would be in those specific areas only and not in another residential area?
Yeah,
Was
so
it-
like MU3, the residential mixed-use zone, the highest allowed height would be consistent with our current residential height. So it wouldn't go beyond our current height allowed for residential uses.
Which would be 3 stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And I noticed that on some of our 3-story buildings, they are actually 70 feet, which it looks, I've seen one, and it does look nice in the neighborhood. But I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding that one correctly for the 90 to 100 feet in the highest activity areas. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, for residential, that 3-story would be limited to 40 feet.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
So I believe one of the recommendations in here was kind of the consideration of neighborhood retail, that zone going away and potentially being replaced with MU3. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd have to look back on exactly how that would work. I think there was some back and forth whether we get rid of neighborhood retail altogether and replace it with the MU3. So I think that was a recommendation. Yeah, I'll double check. But how we go about replacing that, though, I think is complicated. Like if we just do a blanket rezone, or if we just gradually work our way through that.
Yeah. And then another thing, and I know this is primarily applying to centers and quarters, since it is a centers and quarters study. But we've run into situations in the past where people have asked for a rezone to general commercial specifically because they wanted to do mixed use, and there was not currently allowed in any of the particular zone categories that fit in that area. So I know this is just a study, but does it recommend provisions for perhaps utilizing some of these zones outside of existing centers and quarters? So it may be, a quarter mile away or something like that.
Yeah, and Terrell and Spencer can jump in too, but in general, we'd want to use these zones in centers and corridors, but you could also use them outside centers and corridors. So I think a good example would be like the in-between parts of division that are outside, like a designated center, could still use that MUTOD zone that's currently zoned general commercial. I think that's what you're getting at? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because I see this as being potentially, at least the way I'm reading it, far more flexible than maybe our existing CC and without going all the way to general commercial.
I think the scenario you've brought up is exactly anticipated by this change. The current zoning scheme, the centers and corridor zoning scheme, really has a one-to-one relationship. If it's a center and corridor zone, it's within a designated center. By changing to this mixed-use zones, the idea is that we would open up possibilities outside of those designated centers. In examples like you've brought up where somebody says, I want to do mixed use, I have to go with general commercial because that's all that's available.
Yeah, and in that market analysis, I forget the exact percentage, but like something like 89% of development in the past 5 years has happened outside centers and corridors. And probably for that reason, because general commercial is pretty permissive. There's a lot of land that's outside designated centers and corridors where development is desirable. So by allowing this mixed use to apply outside, we can also make sure it's the quality we want, even though it's outside a center or corridor.
Kind of ironic that so much development occurs outside of centers and corridors when the comprehensive plan states very specifically focus commercial development in the centers and corridors area.
Yeah, and so they pointed out kind of the aspirational nature of some of these things when it's really the land value that's driving everything. And we're trying to acknowledge that by this approach.
So we have other questions for staff. All right. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Angie, do we have anyone signed up for public testimony?
We do not.
Anyone online that would like to testify that has not signed up? Okay, hearing none, I will close public testimony, and before we move on to deliberation, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we recommend the Centers and Quarter update study to City Council as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Yachts. Yachts?
Yes.
Yachts.
Angie's nodding. She practiced.
Okay, at this point, we're at deliberation and discussion. I'll just bring up something that and I was talking to Spencer about this beforehand, and this is simply a recommendation. This is a study and a recommendation. It's not making any code changes, not making any land use changes. And so for that, I'm fully supportive of it. There are elements of it that I maybe am not fully in alignment with. I do get concerned when I read about inclusionary zoning. It has its pros and cons, and I hope that we can have a deeper discussion about that before we ever get to the point of implementation. I do think this is a good step. I'm fully supportive of the centers and quarters concept. And this is a good step in making revisions to make it a little bit more viable and amenable for use. So I'm going to support this. Commissioner Bank?
Yeah, I would just piggyback off of what you said there. I think there are some things in there that do warrant further consideration, but it's my understanding of this approach is that that consideration is to come at a later time. So like you, I'm fully in support of it. I think this is really great. I would also be interested, we heard the statistic about development outside of centers and corridors. I'd be really interested to see if there's some sort of tracking metric that as these things become adopted and the new zones become adopted, did it work? Did it succeed in directing more growth there, just so that we can make sure we're keeping tabs, much like we're doing with BOH, keeping tabs on whether these policy interventions are actually doing what they're intended to do? Because I think the CC scheme in general was intended to do something, and I think we're hearing and functionally seeing that it's maybe not doing that. And so I think this is absolutely a great step in the right direction. I love the increase of flexibility. I love the applicability outside of centers and corridors, but I'd just love to see some metrics and see if it's actually working or if we need to come and tweak again.
Commissioner Linhart.
Good job. I also agree that it feels like the right direction. I just want to, not a point for discussion, I guess, but just to thank Colin for the presentations that have been really accessible, and I appreciate all the outreach and engagement that went into the study.
Any further comments? I do. Thank you for all your work on this, and thank you to the consultants that did some good detailed work on, provided some good information to us. Okay, unless there are any further comments, we will move to a vote. Angie?
President Francis,
Aye.
Vice President Patterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bank,
Aye.
Commissioner Nepperud,
Aye.
Commissioner Shook,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Lenhart.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Aye.
Commissioner Yachts, so sorry.
Sorry. We're 7 or 9.
Still unanimously.
Now it's 8-0.
All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.